One Raiders legend just watched a trade collapse right in front of him. And he still can't explain what he saw. Tonight, the real story behind Max Crosby's future is finally coming out. And by the time this video ends, you will understand exactly why every contender in the NFL wants a piece of him. Before we go any further, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss a single Raiders update. Let's get straight into it, because there is a lot to cover tonight. Max Crosby is officially back in Las Vegas. His proposed trade to the Baltimore Ravens completely fell apart after he failed his physical, and just like that, the whole deal collapsed. Since coming back to the Raiders, Crosby has shown nothing but energy and commitment to this team. But here's the thing every fan needs to understand, this does not mean the trade talk is dead. Not even close. The Raiders are entering a brand new era built around Kirk Cousins and rookie quarterback Fernando Mendoza, and how that partnership performs this season could Crosby's entire future. If Las Vegas struggles, championship teams could come knocking again before the trade deadline. The Dallas Cowboys are one of the most realistic destinations. Dallas chased Crosby hard in the offseason, and owner Jerry Jones has never been afraid to make a bold move when he thinks his team is close. Reports say Dallas was ready to offer the Raiders their 12th overall pick plus a second-round pick just to get Crosby, which tells you exactly how much value they place on him. Then there's Chicago. Head coach Ben Johnson and the Bears might decide that adding another elite pass rusher next to Montez Sweat is worth any price. ESPN insider Adam Schefter has already said he could picture the Raiders trading Crosby mid-season if the team's performance isn't up to standard. And you can never count out the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco is stuck in a brutal NFC West, especially with Myles Garrett now on the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks fresh off a Super Bowl title. On top of that, Nick Bosa has been dealing with a knee issue in camp, and the 49ers finished last season with only 20 sacks, the lowest total in the entire NFL. Crosby walking into that defense could change everything overnight. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. A Raiders legend has already reacted to how strange this failed trade actually was. Khalil Mack knows better than almost anyone what it means to be a dominant defender for this franchise, so when he spoke about Crosby's situation on the Bus In with the Boys podcast on August 12, people listened closely. He was asked directly if he had reached out to Crosby after the Baltimore deal collapsed. His answer, simply, no. But Mack admitted that from the outside, the whole thing left him confused. He said it felt like one of those situations where you just want to know what really happened behind closed doors, and he even considered calling around to find out more, but acknowledged players rarely get the full picture in moments like this. And finally, tonight is not just about rumors, it's about actual football. The Raiders' preseason opener against the Arizona Cardinals is happening right now, and 4 major storylines are on the line. First, how will snaps be split between Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza? Second, the battle for the third receiver spot between Jack Beck and rookie Malik Benson, with Trey Tucker and Jalen Nailor already locked in as the top 2. Third, will Crosby even suit up tonight as he continues recovering from knee surgery? And fourth, the kicking competition between veteran Matt Gay and undrafted rookie Kansei Matsuzawa, a battle that could decide who wins the job for the entire season. So that's everything, right there, straight up. But we are just getting started, because every single one of these stories has so much more depth to it, and you need to hear all of it. Let's slow down and really sit with the Crosby situation for a second, because ask yourself this, if you were the general manager of the Raiders right now, would you actually trust a division rival level threat like the Cowboys with your best defender? Dallas offering a first-round pick and a second-rounder is not a small thing. That is the kind of package that changes a franchise's entire rebuild timeline. Jerry Jones has spent years chasing that missing piece for his pass rush, and Crosby fits the mold of exactly what he wants, a relentless, high-motor edge rusher who can wreck a game plan by himself. If the Raiders start slow this season, and Cousins and Mendoza are still finding their rhythm together, it would not be shocking to see Dallas circle back with an even bigger offer before the deadline. Then you have Chicago, and this one deserves more attention than people are giving it. Ben Johnson built his reputation as one of the most aggressive offensive minds in football, but now as a head coach, he understands that games are won by controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. The Bears already have Montez Sweat causing problems off the edge. Pairing him with Crosby would give Chicago one of the scariest pass rush duos in the entire league, the kind of tandem that can single-handedly take over a playoff game. Adam Schefter reigniting this idea publicly is not something insiders do randomly. When a reporter with that level of access starts floating a name, it usually means there is real smoke behind it. And then there's San Francisco, which honestly might be the most desperate fit of them all. Think about what the 49ers are dealing with. Myles Garrett is now wearing a Rams uniform inside their own division. Seattle is the reigning Super Bowl champion. And Nick Bosa, their franchise cornerstone on defense, is nursing a knee injury during camp. 20 sacks all of last season is not just bad, it is the worst mark in the entire NFL. For a franchise that built its identity around defense for decades, that number should be terrifying to their front office. Crosby would not just add depth, he would completely transform the defensive line, whether playing alongside a healthy Bosa or stepping up as the number one option if Bosa goes down again. Now here is your question of the day, and I really want to hear your answer in the comments below. If the Raiders fall out of playoff contention by mid-season, should they trade Max Crosby to the highest bidder and fully commit to building around Fernando Mendoza, or should they keep Crosby no matter what and protect the identity of this defense? Drop your answer below, because this debate is about to define the entire direction of this franchise. Let's go back to Khalil Mack for a second, because his reaction says more than people realize. This is a man who was once the heartbeat of the Raiders' defense, a former Defensive Player of the Year who understands exactly what it feels like to carry a franchise on his shoulders. When someone like that says he's confused by how a trade collapsed, that is not just casual talk, that is a former insider admitting even he doesn't fully understand what's going on in that building right now. Mack didn't rush to call Crosby, and he was honest enough to admit that even players close to a situation like this often don't get real answers. That kind of honesty from a franchise legend adds another layer of mystery to everything surrounding Crosby's future. Speaking of Crosby, let's talk about just how valuable he actually is on the field, because the numbers back up every bit of the hype. Last season alone, he played 935 defensive snaps and racked up 53 total pressures, 10 sacks, 31 hurries, 12 quarterback hits, and a forced fumble. He also added 46 solo tackles against the run, proving he's not just a pass rush specialist, he's a complete, every-down defensive force. But maybe the most important thing Crosby brings right now has nothing to do with stats at all. It's leadership. He has been actively mentoring Fernando Mendoza, understanding that the Raiders' long-term success depends heavily on how well their young quarterback develops. Crosby has made it clear that winning in this league takes contributions from everyone, not just one star player, and he genuinely wants to see Mendoza succeed and grow into the franchise quarterback this team has been searching for. That kind of selfless leadership from a player who could easily be traded away is exactly what a rebuilding locker room needs. Now let's bring it back to tonight's preseason opener, because this game means more than most people think. Head coach Clint Kubiak has confirmed that starters will see the field, but he hasn't revealed exactly how long Cousins or Mendoza will play. Cousins is expected to start week 1 of the regular season, but every single snap Mendoza gets alongside the first-team offense tonight matters for his long-term development. This isn't just about winning a meaningless preseason game, it's about shaping the next 5 years of this franchise. Then there's the fight for the third receiver spot, and this one is heating up fast. Jack Beck is entering his second season after catching 20 passes for 224 yards as a rookie, and right now he still holds the edge in the pecking order. But Malik Benson has been turning heads all throughout training camp, and tonight is his chance to make this competition impossible to ignore. And don't forget about Max Crosby's own availability tonight. He is healthy enough to practice, but whether he actually plays in this preseason opener is still undecided as he continues recovering from knee surgery. If he sits out, fans are going to immediately wonder if the coaching staff is simply protecting their superstar, or if there's something bigger going on behind the scenes. Finally, let's talk kicker, because this battle deserves way more attention than it's getting. Matt Gay was brought in after a rough stretch in Washington and San Francisco last season, and his biggest question mark is long-range consistency. Over his last 3 seasons, he has only converted 48.3% of his attempts from 50 yards and beyond. His competition, undrafted rookie Kansei Matsuzawa, has limited college experience from that same distance, attempting just 2 field goals beyond 50 yards during his entire college career. But make no mistake, whichever kicker proves he can be trusted from long range could become a massive weapon for this Raiders team all season long. So here's the real question heading into tonight. Ask yourself, what would you actually do if you were running this franchise right now? Would you hold on to Crosby as the heart and soul of this defense no matter what offer comes in, or would you pull the trigger on a blockbuster trade and go all in on building the future around Fernando Mendoza? This decision could define the next era of Raiders football, and honestly, there might not be a clear right answer. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss the next major update on Maxx Crosby, Fernando Mendoza, and everything happening with this Raiders team. We'll be back soon with the latest as this story continues to unfold. Let's take a step back for a second and really put Maxx Crosby's situation into historical perspective, because this is bigger than just one trade rumor. Think about the great pass rushers this franchise has had over the years. Guys like Khalil Mack himself, guys who became the face of Raiders defense before eventually being moved for future assets. History has a strange way of repeating itself in Las Vegas. Mack was traded away in his prime because the front office decided a draft haul was worth more than keeping a superstar. Fans were furious back then, and that trade still gets debated to this day. Now here we are again, with another elite defender standing at a similar crossroads. The difference this time is Crosby has already stated, through his actions and his commitment since returning from the failed Baltimore deal, that he wants to be part of building something in Las Vegas, not just be a trade chip shipped off for future picks. That loyalty matters, especially in a league where players get moved like pieces on a chessboard the moment their value peaks. And let's really dig into why Dallas makes so much sense as a landing spot, because this isn't just speculation, this is Jerry Jones doing exactly what Jerry Jones always does. Look at his history. He has never been the owner who plays it safe and waits for the perfect draft class to build organically. He chases stars. He chases splash moves. A first-round pick plus a second-rounder for a player of Crosby's caliber is the type of offer that keeps general managers up at night, because turning it down means betting everything on Cousins and Mendoza figuring things out fast enough to justify keeping Crosby around. And if that bet doesn't pay off early in the season, that Cowboys offer is not going away quietly. Now think about Chicago for a second longer, because pairing Crosby with Montez Sweat is honestly one of the scariest defensive concepts in the entire league right now. Picture it, opposing offensive lines having to account for 2 elite, high-motor edge rushers on every single snap. That is the kind of matchup nightmare that changes offensive game plans completely. Ben Johnson didn't become one of the most respected offensive minds in football by accident, and now that he's building a complete roster as a head coach, he clearly understands that even the best offense in the world needs a defense that can get after the quarterback. If Chicago is serious about contending, adding Crosby to that front could be the single move that pushes them over the top. And can we talk about how desperate the situation in San Francisco actually is? This is a franchise with one of the proudest defensive traditions in NFL history, and they just posted the worst sack total in the entire league. That should be sending alarm bells through that entire organization. Nick Bosa dealing with a knee issue in camp only makes things scarier, because if he goes down for any extended period, San Francisco's pass rush becomes almost non-existent in a division that just got significantly tougher with Myles Garrett joining the Rams and Seattle coming off a Super Bowl win. Crosby landing in that building would not just be an upgrade, it would be a full identity reset for that defense. Now let's shift back to the human side of this story, because Fernando Mendoza's development might end up being the single biggest factor in all of this. Think about the pressure on this kid. He's not just trying to win a starting job someday, he's trying to prove he can be the long-term answer at quarterback for a franchise that has been searching for that stability for years. Having a veteran leader like Crosby in his corner, someone who could easily be traded away tomorrow but is choosing instead to mentor him today, that is rare in this league. It says a lot about Crosby's character, and honestly, it should say a lot to Raiders fans about what kind of locker room culture this franchise is trying to build heading into this new era. So when you really sit back and look at everything, the Cowboys' offer, the Bears' interest, the 49ers' desperation, Khalil Mack's confusion from the outside, and Crosby's own commitment to mentoring the future of this franchise, you start to realize this is one of the most fascinating storylines in the entire NFL right now, not just for Raiders fans. Every single contender watching this situation is hoping Las Vegas struggles just enough to put Crosby back on the trade block, while every Raiders fan is hoping this team proves them all wrong and makes that decision easy by winning. That's exactly why tonight's preseason opener matters so much more than people realize. Every rep Cousins and Mendoza get together, every snap Malik Benson takes to prove he belongs, every kick Kansei Matsuzawa booms through the uprights, it's all building toward answering the biggest question of this entire season: does this roster have what it takes to keep this team competitive enough that trading away their best defensive player never even becomes a real conversation? So let us know, right now, in the comments below, are you team keep Crosby no matter what, or team take the deal and build around Mendoza? This is exactly the kind of debate that decides the future of a franchise, and your voice matters in it. Make sure you hit that like button, stay subscribed, and turn on notifications so you catch every single update the moment this story develops further. We'll see you in the next one.